Okay, welcome everyone, and thanks very much for joining us on this webinar on how Hydro-Quebec's hydropower project won the gold level sustainability certification. Just for a bit of context, before we go into it, I should introduce myself. I'm Eddie Rich. I'm the CEO of the International Hydropower Association, and very proud that we have a Hydropower Sustainability Standard, which was launched in 2021 and is now run by an independent Hydropower Sustainability Alliance, which is multi-stakeholder run. We're only one voice amongst governments and civil society and financial institutions in that. And we have, as a statement which came out in 2021, the San Jose Declaration, saying going forward, the only acceptable hydropower is sustainable hydropower. So with that as our core, we also realized that in order to mainstream good and best sustainability practice in hydropower, we had to go beyond just having it sort of the rules of the club. If you wanted to be part of IHA, you had to commit to good and best levels of sustainability practice. We realised it has to be embedded in regulation. It has to be embedded in financial approval, and it has to be incentivised. And we had our IHA Blue Planet Award, which is awarded every couple of years to the best project in terms of sustainability. And I'm delighted that East Main 2, Hydro-Quebec's project, which we're talking about today, was the winner in 2023, the current holder of that prestigious prize. And so it's only natural that people want to know, well, how did it do so well? What have we learned from this? And so that's what today is about. If I can ask Rebecca, can you show us next slide, which is just a little bit of housekeeping before we go on to the agenda and to introduce the guests. We're recording this. It's going to be shared with all the registrants. And if you've got questions, and we really do welcome them because we've got a bit of time at the end to take quite a few, then please do click on the Q&A button that you see at the bottom of the screen. Also, we have, very pleased to have, Chinese interpretation on this webinar. So again, you should see a button at the bottom of the screen where you can select the Chinese channel. And also, as we go along, keep a good eye on the side on the chat function, because we'll be posting quite a few little nudges there about publications that are referred to and other useful links, which we encourage you to follow up with. Next slide, please. So, in a moment, I'm going to turn over to my very talented, informative and good-looking panel. And we're going to start off with Mariana Empes, who is the Sustainability Officer at the Hydropower Sustainability Alliance, this separate organisation that I refer to below. And she's going to walk us through what is in the standard. And then I'm going to pass on to the experts on this project, the Hydro-Québec speakers, Lynn Saint-Laurent, who is the Senior Communications Advisor, and also my boss, because she's part of the IHA board. And she's also joined by Paul Suave, who's the Senior Advisor for EHS integration, and then Christian Daubin, who is the Senior Environment Advisor. And they're going to talk us through what is the project, why did they apply the standard, what have been the impact and benefits, and if any downsides of having done so. And then we will allow time for the questions that hopefully you will be passing in all the time through that Q&A channel. So all in all will be 75 minutes, and I'm looking forward to good discussions. So with that, let me pass it over to Mariana. Please tell us what is this standard?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Eddie. Thank you for the very nice introduction. I hope you can all see my screen. So as Eddie said, my name is Mariana. I am the Sustainability Engagement Officer for the Hydropower Sustainability Alliance. And I'm here to introduce you to the Hydropower Sustainability Standard, which is the sustainability certification system that Hydro-Québec used to get their East Main 1 development project certified. So a bit about the Alliance, as Eddie said, I'll go through this kind of quickly because Eddie explained it pretty well. The Alliance is a nonprofit, it's multi-stakeholder. We are the custodians of the Hydropower Sustainability Standard. It is made up of governments, civil society, NGOs, financiers, and industry members. The point of the Alliance is to improve accountable sustainability in the hydropower sector. And by that, it means we assess and certify hydropower projects on their sustainability performance. We also build knowledge on a global scale. So we don't just certify projects, we also make sure that developers and other stakeholders around the world know how to use the standard and what the best good and best practices are around hydropower sustainability. And then we also build capacity with developers everywhere. So we work with developers over long stretches of time to make sure that they get to a stage where their projects could potentially be certified using the Hydropower Sustainability Standard. So that's a brief overview of the Alliance. Now, before we get into our specific standard on hydropower, I just want to do a quick overview on what sustainability standards are in general, why we need them, and why they're important. So standards exist as a solution for the potential negative impacts that industries everywhere have. So when you think about it, all industries really do have a social environmental footprint, and most industries deliver goods and services that are necessary to meet the demands of our growing population. And so standards are here sort of to provide assurance to the final consumer that the services or the goods that they are using come from a sustainable supply chain, for example, and also accountability to those who actually produce those services and goods. And this is the case for every industry. As I said before, for food, you probably recognize some of these labels, the Roundtable for Sustainable Palm Oil, Reinforced Alliance, Fair Trade. Those are very recognizable seals that you see when you go to the supermarket. Textiles, you have Textile Exchange, Better Cotton, and then raw materials like the Forest Stewardship Council. Those are some of the more recognizable ones, but there are hundreds and hundreds of standards out there. And hydropower is no different. It requires accountability so that we ensure that those who actually receive the services and those who buy the services can feel like they can trust the source of where it comes from. Now, about the standard. The Hydropower Sustainability Standard is here to assess and certify good practice in the hydropower industry. A quick overview. We can use the standard on pretty much any hydroelectric project, run-of-river storage, pump storage, multipurpose dam as long as they have a hydroelectric component to them. And the standard is also tailored to different life cycles of a specific project. So the project is in a preparation stage, implementation, or operation stage. We use different tools of the standard for each one of these, so we can customize the standard for those specific stages. Certification against the standard, the duration of the certification will depend on the stage of the project. So a certification for a preparation stage is 3 years, 3 years for implementation, and 5 years for operation. And it's also important to remember that a certification against the standard represents a snapshot of the sustainability performance of the project at the time it was assessed. So it does not, for example, if a project is certified, in an operation stage, it does not reflect in any way the past of the project. It is really just at the time of the assessment. If a project, if the certification runs out, expires, the project is always welcome to go through the process once again. So the standard covers 12 ESG topics. We've listed here on the side, you can see there's a good balance between more social topics, environmental, as well as governance, procurement topics. There are two levels of performance: the good practice, which is the minimum requirements, and the best practice, which is advanced requirements. So when a project is assessed, it'll be assessed against each of these topics, and against the minimum requirements or the best, the advanced requirements. And I will go into this in a bit. But an important thing to remember is that not all projects will be assessed against all of these topics, because sometimes some topics are just not relevant. So for example, as we'll see with Hydro-Québec and the East Main 1 development project, the resettlement topic was not assessed because there was no resettlement. There was nothing to assess. So that's sort of the standard will be tailored to specific projects. Perhaps one of the most important things about the standard is that it's fully independent. So yes, it is governed by the Hydropower Sustainability Alliance, but the assessments are conducted completely by third-party independent assessors. Now, we train the assessors. The assessors have, there are 3 different tiers of assessors: lead assessors, accredited assessors, and provisional assessors. It's a long and arduous process to get to lead assessor. It's a lot of work. These are experts, I mean, really like top experts in the field. And being able to have assessors be independent ensures impartiality, credibility, and consistency also throughout the assessment, because all these assessors have, in fact, received the same training. These are just some photos from the field, assessors conducting, as you can see. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but conducting interviews with local communities, obviously doing some conducting field visits, yeah, this is the independent assessments are perhaps the most important part of the standard, the integrity of the standard. Oop, there we go. Now, how do we get from assessment to certification? I will try not to get into too much detail here because this can be a bit complicated, not complicated, but a bit long. So the first part is the assessment. As I just covered, the project developer will hire a team of assessors. Each assessment must have one lead assessor that then leads a team of assessors. The assessment itself includes several steps. So there's a document review process, an interview, a site visit. So that's a very comprehensive process itself. After that, the team of assessors will write an assessment report, which will then be published and open for public consultation for a period of 2 months. So that means that anyone, anywhere can access the assessment reports. Those are published on the Hydropower Sustainability Alliance website, as well as the developer's website. And anyone can submit comments, feedback. It's all very transparent process. After that, the assessors will reply to all those comments. Those responses will also be made public. The developer will apply for formal certification, and this application is sent over to the governance committee of the Alliance. So those are the decision makers. They're the ones who will officially vote whether or not a project should be certified. And then we have the certification, if the HSGC votes yes, of course. And to the right here, you can see the different labels when a project is certified. We have 3 tiers of certification: the certified, the silver certified, and the gold certified. These depend on the performance and how the project meets the different requirements. So a certification, if a project is certified, that means that it meets the good and the good practice, aka the minimum requirements of the standard in each topic. If a project receives a silver certification, that means that the project has scored above 30% in each of the topics of the advanced requirements of each of the topics. And then gold, that means that they've scored over 60%. And as we'll see, the East Main 1 project received a gold certification. So there we go, East Main 1, gold certification. East Main was the first project to receive a gold certification against the Hydropower Sustainability Standard, and this happened in August of 2023. I won't go into too much detail about the project, about East Main. That's definitely, I'll leave it to Hydro-Québec, but a quick overview of how their assessment relates to what I've just presented. The project was assessed by Jorg Hartman, Margaret Trias, and Miles Scott Brown. So these are assessors from the Hydropower Sustainability Alliance. Jorg, this gentleman here, was the lead assessor. And as you can see here from the dates, there is it is kind of a lengthy process, and I want to make sure that I'll leave it to Hydro-Québec to explain this a bit. But in this situation, the public consultation process, not from the HSA, not for the typical 60-day, but Hydro-Québec really put a lot of work behind public consultation with the local communities, and so that they did an amazing job with that, which took they really focused on this for months. And that explains also the length of this whole process. And if you want to learn more about that, you can scan this QR code here, which will lead you to the page with all the information about the assessment report and East Main's performance against the standard. And here we have the scoring diagram of the East Main project. Now, as you can see, they scored very highly in every topic, above 60%, which means that they received a gold certification. And as well as the Blue Planet Award, which was very, very much deserved. This is just a representation of the score. Again, if you really want to look at how they performed against each of the requirements, I highly encourage you to read the report, the assessment report, which we'll include in the chat, because it's a very, very interesting read, and I do think it could be very helpful for other projects that are looking to be assessed as well. And that's going to be it for me. But before we go, I do want to say, I think Hydro-Québec is a really good example of showing that a certification against the Hydropower Sustainability Standard is not just a one and done thing. It's you get your certification, but there's always more work to do. And I think for Hydro-Québec, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but for Hydro-Québec that meant and still means using that certification to advance their work and to actually get access to more opportunities and offer more opportunities for other projects that are looking to do the same. And so for that, we always encourage other projects to kind of follow the same example. Yes, here we have some resources. So please feel free to scan this code to go to our website, where you can see the different services that we offer. And all of these services are related to the standard. They all revolve around the principles of the standard. And thank you so much, Eddie. I'll give it back to you.
Mariana, keep that slide up just for a second, okay, so people can really focus in on the QR code. Thanks, that was an excellent sort of run through. Always very clear from you guys. Just one thing I'd pick up on, you said that these kind of sustainability standards exist in all industries. I'm quite pleased actually that hydropower is ahead of the other renewables. Mm-hmm. Hydropower is the only one of the renewables with a sustainability standard. And I don't say that in order to be rude about my great friends in wind and solar and geothermal. I'm saying it because we have had that longer experience we've been working with across stakeholders for a longer time, and that is now something that we're pleased to offer as advice with to our sister renewables as they go forward. A couple of other points, if I may, just from IHA's perspective. We say quite often when people say, "Oh, well, what's better, big or small, or modernization or greenfield, or should it be on river or off river? Which one's better from a sustainability point of view?" We say, look, none of these things matter. Big, small, on river, off river, modernization, greenfield. What matters is sustainable or not. That's the big issue that we're any one of those can be sustainable. I hope that responds a little bit to Ignacio Teixeira's question. He asked whether or not this is applicable to refurbishment, and it is absolutely applicable to all kinds of hydropower at all different stages. Thank you, Mariana. That was very clear. This is not industry marking its own homework. This is independent. It's twice over independent.
Exactly.
The standards body, and then with it, who are using independent assessors.
Exactly.
Thank you. Then, Mariana, if you could take that slide down, hopefully people have had time to take the QR code. And then I'm going to introduce and pass on to Lynn Saint Laurent, who's known to many of you already. As I said, Senior Communications Advisor at Hydro-Québec and IHA board member. Take it away, Lynn. Tell us about East Main 1.
You're sur mute, Lynn. You're on mute.
Start that again. So I was essentially thanking everyone for being here today, and thank you to Eddie and Elena for organizing this opportunity. I think it's incredibly important to be talking about this standard as much as we can. So indeed, as Mariana and Eddie have said, we went through this process last year, began in 2022, and we'll be telling you today essentially why and how and what the result has been for us. Not only in terms of the certification, but other results as well. We'll be getting into that towards the end of our presentation. So Christian, next slide, please. We'll give you a little bit of a snapshot of the company of Hydro-Québec and our network, our system, to give you a bit of a lay of the land. The benefits for this sustainability certification for Hydro-Québec, the process, obviously, which is key to this webinar, the lessons learned. And my colleague Christian Turpin will tell you about how we are today in the process of monetizing those Hydropower Sustainability Standard attributes. So let's begin. Next slide, please. So Hydro-Québec, we are owned by the government of Quebec. We are a vertically integrated company. We therefore have units that are responsible for generation, transmission, and ultimately distribution to our customers. We are the largest renewable energy producer in North America, and we have within our system close to half of Canada's hydropower generation. The map that you are looking at is a snapshot. So you see essentially our generation and our largest transmission lines in Quebec. We obviously provide power to the population of Quebec. That is our first and foremost responsibility, but we also have market exchanges with our neighboring markets in Canada and in the US. So we have over 60 hydropower generating stations from small to large, lots of large ones, over 37,000 megawatts of hydropower capacity on our system, and close to 180 terawatt hours of storage capacity within those 28 reservoirs that you see the number on the screen. So that's the picture of our system, and we have some wind on our system, but generally hydropower, essentially close to 100% of the electrons on our system are from renewable sources. Next slide, please. So the benefits for Hydro-Québec, why did we undergo this? Essentially, this is something that we that we are very happy that it exists and very happy that that the IHA has launched this initiative following years of development of various tools. It's great that today we have this standard, and we certainly wanted to use that and test that and try to put our best foot forward in validating, in the effort of validating hydropower as a sustainable energy resource. It was also an opportunity for Hydro-Québec, who, we've been developing hydropower for the past decades. Essentially, we exist since 1944, and this was a great opportunity for us to benchmark against best international practices. As Eddie and Mariana mentioned, this is something that is designed through a multi-stakeholder process. In Quebec, we have a rigorous regulatory system. We've also been, and my colleague Paul Sauvé will go through how we've been working with indigenous communities over the past decades, but to have this standard designed by a team from all over the world was truly an opportunity for us to benchmark what we are already doing against these international standards. Also a great way to promote this independent and credible assessment for hydropower. Eddie was saying how important it is to have this, and we certainly are true believers of that. And we'll get into monetization opportunities for this new type of renewable energy certificate. Next slide, please. And Paul, I'll pass it on to my colleague, Paul Sauvé.
Super. Bonjour. Hi. Hello, everybody. So this is La Baie James, the James Bay, or if you prefer, the Iguachi territory in Cree. So this represent, and we'll just, if you can show the next slide, Christian, we'll focus on that. Yes, so it's represent the Baie James, the James Bay, 11 generating station for about 16,000 megawatt. As in mentioned, for previously, the Baie James was built in 3 phases. The phase 1 of the James Bay complex was launched in the 70s, and one of the main agreement that was put forward by the Quebec Canadian Inuits and the Crees was the 1975 James Bay and Northern Quebec Agreement. We had the phase 2 of the complex of La Grande 1, La Grande 2A, and also the La Forge generating station. And the focus on this presentation today will be on the phase 3 of the East Main 1 development. And this development was agreed upon with the 2002 Pays des Braves, Peace of the Brave agreement that we did with the Cree Nation. And as mentioned, there were signatures of lots of agreements with the Cree Nation, 9 to be on target with the Cree Nation for since phase 3. And one important thing to take away is the committees that were put in place with Hydro-Québec and Cree representatives, namely the Joint Monitoring Committee, which was addressed in 2007 and which will be on its way to leave on 2026 because the monitoring activities has been performed, still going on, but this will end in 2026. There's although a permanent committee that will remain. It's the Joint Rupert River Water Management Board. We had a chance to present Christian and I, who were the project managers for this assessment, to both of these committees, which was, and I'll look into that, a great learning experience for myself, meeting with all the Cree representatives, and I think for Christian also, and I think for the Crees also to better understand the project and the standard. But I'll go through that later on. The East Main 1 development, which was focus for this certification, is part of 2 generating stations that were chosen, the East Main 1, as you can see, and the Bernard Landry. We have the Pays des Braves Reservoir, we have the Rupert River partial diversion was included, and 8 weirs to prevent the exposures of the Rupert riverbanks and maintain navigation and fish habitat, which is very important when we talk about cultural heritage, indigenous peoples, the way of life, the community impacts. And if we go to the next slide, Christelle. One thing we wanted to, and we've put it throughout the slide some pictures of the East Main territory, this main development, which we had the chance to flew over with the lead assessors so they can get a better grasp of the wealth, the extent of the projects, and we can see lots of installation with our internal expert who can explain each and every components of the development. But what we wanted to share with you is, yes, we had the gold level certification, and we're very glad to have received the Blue Planet Prize Award. But it's really the result of work that was carried out with our Hydro-Québec teams that help out design, construct, operate, and the decades of experience that we've went through, and the increase, you see phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 of the Bay James, but the increased collaboration that we had with the Creek community, which really was embedded and lots of energy put into it in the Eastman 1 development to learn from our past, the good things we did, the opportunity for improvement that we have also learn from phase 1 and phase 2 to lead us to the phase 3. Now, our process towards certification. I'll go through the certification process timeline. Everything started in March 2022. Well, a bit prior to that, because we need to add the approval of our upper management to go through the certification process. We were looking at the Hydropower Sustainability Standard, what it's all about. So we awarded a contract to certified assessors with lead assessors, certified assessors, to ensure we had a proper independent mean of doing this assessment. Also, I think that was very important for Christian and I when we did all of that, and we want to ensure upper management that we would do it in the proper timeline. We had to select our internal experts. You see, there's 12 topics as was discussed, was presented. There was environmental and social impacts, water quality. So we had to select our internal experts to present to the assessors these components that led to the Eastman 1 development in the current stage, and also throw back in time to what led to the project actual status. We had to also do the project timeline and logistics. One key element is, yes, maybe you know lots about the Hydropower Sustainability Standard. Eddie presented some slide previously. We can get more information, more training. For us, it was important to train our internal expert by the assessors and us project managers, for them to understand what the standard is about, what kind of question did we be asked for them, and what kind of documentation that would be proper to forward to the assessors. So from June to August 2022, we did some document gathering. We didn't want to throw lots of documents because there were a lot of documents. We want to have our internal experts to select extract summaries prior hand to provide the assessors so they could get acquainted with the projects, that when we talk about, like, for example, indigenous people, cultural heritage, hydrological resources, we want to have proper documentation and proper leading to proper interviews to explain where we started from, what was done in the past, what is actually done right now as in monitoring, what were the indigenous or the Cree's preoccupation, how we can meet them, so we can look at the minimum requirement and the advanced requirements of the standards and provide all support documentation and prepare the interviews. So we did also project presentation, like as I mentioned, to the joint committees, so they would understand what the standard is all about, because it's new for them. How would they be involved? And for those committees, we have some managers of Hydro-Québec are there, crew representatives are there, and we bring our experts also to discuss issues so we can present it to them. So from July to September 2022, we had remote interviews with our internal experts, 35 interviews, and we wanted them to be done prior to the site visit. So everything that will be done could lead to advantages, not advantage, but a great time effort during the site visit. So the assessor would add all the documentation. They would have shared understand the experience of our internal experts. We talk about climate change, community impact, water quality. So they had all that in mind prior hand to go to the site visit. And we also had remote interviews with stakeholders, 10 stakeholders who participated in interviews. And all those interviews were led by the lead assessors and members of the teams that were shown previously. So it was a great learning experience for our teams, our experts who put lots of energy, wanted to explain in clear language what the minimum advanced requirements are met, what we can share as documentation, and it was questions and answers. So the lead assessors were really experts in asking great questions, so we can maybe find more documentation, precise, or be more precise on our answers, give more emphasis on some points. So it was during the interviews, if I can say, July to September, documentation gathering, and we came back to the assessors with extra information to help them really have a 5-day visit on site in September that was plentiful with all the information. And we did that with a core team. So we cannot bring every expert on site. So we brought a couple so they can share the experience with the lead assessors, do the site visits, the installation. And when we had questions from our assessors, we can go back and at the end of the day with remote virtual interviews with our experts. Lynn will talk about later on of the 4 observers that were also brought on site from NGOs. And let me say that during the visit, we wanted, and that's what we plan, to have visit with the Waskaganish community, with Cree representatives, so the lead assessors and the accredited assessors that was on site could ask all the questions with Cree representatives, so that they would gain a better knowledge for this overall project. After September 2022, there was the preliminary report that was written by the assessors. We made an internal revision with our experts because, yes, we had interviews, yes, we had the site visit, but still some questions remain, some elements that we need to focus on, like biodiversity, environmental management, and maybe procurement or social impacts. So we put all those questions that they had during the site visit. We came back for them. They wrote the preliminary report, and as was mentioned, from February to April 2023, the preliminary report was submitted to the Cree representatives. As I mentioned, we've gained a lot in experience with our communication. We wanted the Cree to have the report beforehand, before everybody, so they can go through it, ask questions, and also have remote meetings with assessors for comments, or our lead assessor and the assessors were present to answer and hear the feedbacks from our Cree representatives. Afterwards, there was public consultation for the preliminary report for 60 days. We put it on both websites that you can see it. So there was public consultations done as required by the Hydropower Sustainability Assurance Standard. Then on August 2023, the final report was issued. We went through the certification request, so each step was done properly to have an issuance of the gold certification. I'll show you the score that we've got that you've already seen, but we'll see it again. And on November 2023, we were awarded the Blue Planet Prize Award from all the projects that were submitted. Hydro-Québec won this prize. We're really grateful for that. It was a great experience, and we shared it with all the community of Hydro-Québec, with the Crees and external resources. So it was the achievement of something very special that was performed by all the Hydro-Québec members who've participated, and as I mentioned, the people who went to the design, construction, and operation phase of this cement wall development. You can see here the 12 topics with the score we had and the Blue Planet Prize Award that we've received in Bali for this project. As mentioned, the certification is valid for 5 years because we're on operation stage. So we look forward for these years and recertification. Lesson learned right now, as you can see, we went on site, so you can see other pictures of what happened over there. Lesson learned from indigenous relation. As mentioned, the key points to take away, it's the significance of indigenous input. We have the monitoring committee, water management board, the site visit, which was really the highlight when we can talk with the representatives, understand where they came from, what the project was about, how they were impacted by the project, what did the Hydro-Québec do to look in the best ways to improve on our operations. And we have internal expert explain to the assessor the social and environmental impacts, the cultural heritage, the indigenous people relations. So what has led to the signature of 9 agreements between Hydro-Québec and the CRE? We had some experts, we had a great expert explaining that to all the phases of the projects, to the lead assessor and the assessors. This was a great learning experience, even for myself, who went back in time to understand what was all put in place to lead to those 9 agreements. And I'm sure that the assessors really were amazed about all the information that they received from that. We should do a documentary also on that. That's what I told some of our experts. Also, why to allow time? The time to ensure proper communication. It takes time. And something that we've learned is we should have allowed more time. So just to explain the purpose of the certification, the criteria, the standards, the assessment team's role, all the CREs would review the report. When would this be given out to them for to comment? So one thing we've learned is to understand, take the proper time to have meetings with lead assessors, with indigenous leaders, the tallyman, the monitoring committee. This was key. We did it, we managed it, but we could have allowed prior to the project more time to that to facilitate everything. We went through it, but this is one of our lessons learned from our part. Next slide, Christian. It's a rigorous certification process. There were several experts involved in different fields of activities, but the exchange, the knowledge, the intellectual part of all these projects and the highlights, the components, this was a tremendous experience. Our experts who were involved were very glad for the quality of the questions that the assessors asked. They were all prepared because when we gave them documentation, they read the documentation so they can ask great questions for our experts. They enjoyed that. Our experts, even, and as I mentioned, before interviews with the assessors, they did some PowerPoint presentation so they can highlight the key components for hydrological resources, climate change, community impact. So just to give the assessors some insight of what are they going to talk about. They even gave those presentations prior to the interviews, so the assessors would be prepared to ask pertinent questions and really dig down into the project and operation stage. Conducting interviews prior to the site visit involve the communication teams in the assessment process, and we'll talk about that. And like I mentioned, take time and involve the indigenous communities well in advance, and the transparency with partners. And that is important for us, the transparency with partners. That's why we send out the preliminary report. We had the assessors to understand their comments of the indigenous representatives, and before sending all out for public review. So I think that will lead us to Lynn on the next one Yes.
Yeah, just a word, Christian, if you could go back to the previous slide. So the importance of involving the communications team in the assessment process and towards the beginning of the assessment process is pretty important, because even though, I mean, we're doing this for the purposes of sustainability, but we all know that communicating obviously with the communities and various stakeholders within the locations where we have our facilities is important, but also communicating to our customers and other organizations that we work with is pretty key as well. So if you involve your communications team well ahead of time, then you can truly establish a communications plan surrounding this effort and the entire certification process. We plan to have, for instance, photographers and videographers on site to document the process. This is material that we used on social media at various occasions. Paul mentioned we should do a documentary. Well, we have a 6-minute video. We can go to the next slide, which is something that we've put together following this experience with interviews from our various employees. You can go to the next slide, Christian. And so that's available for you. We'll be providing the slide deck, but we'll also put that link to the video in the chat, and you'll be hearing from the other experts that were involved in the effort. And maybe just to really underscore the importance for this entire effort for your staff, everyone who gets involved in this project becomes, it's a learning experience, but it's also very rewarding to be able to discuss your expertise and what you've been working on for the past years or even decades with international assessors. So it really truly is a valuable experience also from a HR perspective within your company. We've found that to be quite relevant as well. So please look at this video when you have a moment following this webinar. You'll learn more about our process and hear from other voices involved in the effort as well. So with that, I'll hand it over to Christian.
Yes, could you say a few words about the observer involvement?
Of course, yes, that was an important element as well. The communications plan, we saw the value of involving independent observers. This isn't part of the standards criteria, but to have observers, and we selected folks that are with environmental NGOs. So we had someone from the WWF International, the Canadian chapter of WWF. We had an environmentalist from Quebec, as well as someone from the United States. There was no expectation from them. Simply, we wanted them to be there to observe, to learn about the standard, and hopefully afterwards, maybe hear from them commenting on this effort. And they did provide a little bit of that following this certification process. And they've become simply more aware and knowledgeable about all of these sustainability efforts that go into hydropower generation, even for large hydropower generation, which can be sometimes a challenge with environmental NGOs. So we really felt that that was quite a valuable addition to the process, and would certainly encourage other utilities in inviting independent observers.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm jumping in. I will talk to you about a bit of monetization opportunity. I don't know if you are familiar with environmental attributes or renewable energy certificate, but this market for voluntary RECs in Canada or in Quebec is not as developed as you can see in other part of the world, like in Europe or in USA. But we are seeing more and more, we are receiving more and more demand from business customer in Quebec asking for renewable energy certificate. Although the grid mix, as you saw before, is already 99%, more than 99% renewable, business customer are asking for renewable energy certificate. So last year in 2023, we decided to develop a pilot project, a commercial offer to provide to our customer with the renewable energy certificate. At first, the first objective was to meet the customer's need in terms of RECs, obviously, but we had the idea to use this product, the REX product, as an incentive to encourage our customer to participate in our energy efficiency program and power demand response option. You have to know that currently in Quebec, one of the big challenge that we are facing is the lack of capacity. Okay, we need more capacity, or we need customer to better manage their electricity use during winter peak. So we developed the program by offering big incentive on REX, big discount on REX to customer that are doing efforts in reducing their energy demand during winter peak. So last year in 2023, at the beginning of 2023, we were not yet certified, HSS certified. So we were offering wind power REC certified by Ecologo, and we were also offering non-certified hydropower RECs. So, but in 2024, we decided to keep the same approach, using the RECs as an incentive to encourage, to make sure that our customer are participating in our power demand response option. So the discount are very significant. We can go up to 100% discount. But the thing is that for us, there is a lot of value, because when we have to purchase energy to export market during winter peak, it's extremely expensive for us. So it's a win-win situation. For those customers that are better managing their energy demand, that give us the opportunity to save money by avoiding or reducing the need to import energy during winter peak. So this year, instead of offering wind power RECs or non-certified RECs, we decided to only offer HSS Gold RECs, coming from obviously East Main 1 and Bernard Landry. So we have a limited amount, based on the 2 power station capacity. So we have 1.7 million of REC to offer. The base price is similar to WinREX, Ecologo certified WinREX. So we are offering it at $3.50 per REX. But obviously there is a big discount, big incentive for those customers that are participating in the power demand response. The discount is really based on their performance. If they depending on their capacity to save energy, to reduce their power demand during winter peaks, they can receive a higher discount. So I'm participating in almost all meeting with big customer, to explain what is this new product, what is HSS Gold REX. It's, because it's a new certification, it's not known by any customer yet. So we have to explain, we have to communicate what is this new standard. One thing that I have to highlight is that the fact that the RE100 recognition of Hydropower Sustainability Standard in their technical criteria is a very key element for our customer. Most of our customers that are asking for RECs are also member of RE100. However, starting in June 2024, RE100 has a new eligibility criteria limiting the eligibility of the power station at 15 years since the commissioning. So for us, it means that Bernard-Landry is still eligible to produce RECs that are acceptable for RE100, but East Main 1, which is more than 15 years old, that was commissioned more than 15 years ago, it's not eligible anymore. So this 15-year criteria, I would say it's particularly discriminates against hydropower, since the lifespan of an hydropower station, which is more than 100 years, you can just monetize the environmental attributes for a very short period of time. So that's the kind of representation that we are making to RE100, and to maybe to find a way to extend the duration of eligibility for hydropower. So we are advertising our REX program, REX pilot project on our website. So we have all the details on our offer, and we are also referring for those customers that wants to better understand what is a HSS Gold REX. We are referring from our website on REX program to the web page on Hydropower Sustainability Standard. That's it for us.
Thank you very much, Christian. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Lynn. Fantastic, clear messages coming through on the work that you've done to take time on the whole process, and particularly address issues around indigenous peoples, and those messages coming through on monetization, which has led to lots and lots of questions. I think we've got 4 different categories of questions that I'd like to take. We've got about 10 minutes to take them, and then perhaps conclude with some remarks. But the 4 different categories that I've identified are some questions on the standard process, the process to certify against the Hydropower Sustainability Standard, then some technical questions about the standard, and then questions about whether there's any support available for people wishing to undertake the standard, and then finally some questions which I see, Paul Suave, you have been answering in the Q&A around the specifics of East Main, but we'll hopefully come to some of those. Very quickly, can I then first turn to Mariana on the HSS process, the standard process, and questions we had from Peter about whether recertification is a fast-track process. Question from Polycarp and a few others on expiry dates. Sebastian also asked that on how long does certification last for before it needs to get renewed. And Bettina has asked if there's any other certification systems out there. Mariana, can I take you?
Yes, several questions. So on the process on the recertification, that's a popular question. A project will need to go through the whole process entirely once the certification expires. And the duration of the validity of the certification depends on the stage of the hydropower project. So a project that is in preparation or implementation stages will have a certification last for 3 years, after which they will need to recertify if that's what they are looking to do. And a project that is operation stage will have a certification for 5 years, after which they will need to recertify. So there is no fast track, but in a way, it is possible for the recertification to, in a way, be faster, just because in terms of the documents, for example, those already exist. We already have access to a lot of the pre-assessment part of the the certification process. So that could always kind of just make it go by a little bit faster, be it more seamlessly, I would say. But the process is exactly the same. It will have to be the assessment, public consultation, publication, and certification. So I hope that answers the question. The only fast track that I would probably mention is if a project for example, if a project receives a silver certification, but decides to go for gold, which has happened before with a project in Tajikistan, the Sabzor hydropower project, then in that case, if the project is within 6 months of its original certification, then it can go ahead and resolve the gaps that have led to the silver certification instead of gold, and then just reassess those specific topics in order to get to sort of upgrade the certification. So that would be the fast track here. I hope that answers the question. There was also a question on greenhouse gas emissions, I believe, from reservoirs, and the topic 12 from the standard, which is climate change mitigation and resilience, covers covers greenhouse gas emissions, and also refers to the GRES tool, which is a tool that was developed by the university. It might be
Quebec and Montreal.
Okay, exactly. I always forget the order of that one. And along with IHA, so I use that tool also to calculate greenhouse gas emissions from reservoirs and to estimate the life cycle emissions. There is also a question on biodiversity, which I believe Paul responded to already. We do have a topic. The first topic of the standard is on biodiversity and invasive species. And then interesting question on the transboundary issues. So those are covered in topic 11 of the standard, which is hydrological resources, and as well as topic 9, which is governance and procurement. So for topic-specific questions, I always highly recommend looking at the standard document, which I believe Rebecca has shared or will share the page on our website that includes the standard document itself that you can download for free. And we also have all the reporting templates for assessment reports available for download for free on our website. So that's where you can really look at each topic and each requirement for minimum requirements and advanced requirement for each one of those topics. Then you'll see that these issues are all covered. They might not be relevant for all projects, but they are all there. Am I missing another question?
Yeah, there was a question which perhaps I can pick up on, whether or not there are any other certification and standard systems out there for hydropower. Perhaps, Marianne, you can add to this, but internationally, the answer is no. We're quite clearly the internationally recognized standard for hydropower. And I think the only other one which we have been in discussions with has been in the US with the Low Impact Hydropower Institute, who have a certification system for hydropower. And we're working very closely with them, very well with them, on trying to see if we can establish a double certification system. So watch this space, I think, for progress on a double certification that we can make sure they're aligned.
Yes.
Marianne, did you have anything on?
No, that's it. Thank you for mentioning Leahy. Yes, they operate in the United States, and we work very closely with them. I believe there was also a question about the actual process, the application stage of certification. The reason why
can you take that and also assess questions around support for people and projects who want to apply the standard, particularly we've had a few for West Africa, Babacar and Moses. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. So yeah, so for the first question about the application, so it's a very good question. When we say application, we really mean application for the certification itself, not for the assessment. And this is important to make a distinction between these two, because not all projects that are assessed will be certified. So we would rather have projects express their interest in being assessed, and then once they've decided whether or not they want to go for certification, or if they've received a score that they are happy with, for example, then they will go on and apply for the certification itself. But there is the application for the assessment is more of a registration of interest, which then will trigger the conversations with the developer. The developer will pick the assessor team, and all that good stuff. So I hope that's clear. The application is really just for the certification. We don't want to make developers apply for certification right at the beginning, because who knows if they will get a certification or not at the end of it. So I mean, that wouldn't be fair to the developer. In terms of support, yes, we actually are very lucky to have to work with the Swiss Secretariat as our funder, so SECO, and we have a hydropower ESG fund with them. It's called the HESG fund that was recently renewed. So they provide support to developers who are seeking certification against the standard. So we're happy to contact you, get in touch, and see if we can make something happen in West Africa. That's personally to me. That's
yeah. Those are areas where this grant can apply. If you want support in assessing your project and certifying your project.
Exactly. There's a whole list of SECO approved countries, so where SECO will provide these grants, and I believe most countries in West Africa are part of that list. So we are happy to be in touch with you and discuss that further.
In fact, it applies all round developing world. Please do get in touch. I think it's a great opportunity for some support for those projects developing there. Can I turn to our friends at Eastmain, because we've got some very important questions there. Thanks, Mariana. Quite a few questions coming up on how you reconciled the Canadian law and regulations with the HSS, and whether or not there were any obvious gaps in between. Why did you go the extra mile? Who wants to pick that one up?
Paul, do you want me to start? Paul and Christian?
Yeah.
So as we mentioned earlier on in the presentation, I mean, we do have a rigorous regulatory process, two levels of it, actually, the federal Canadian level, and we also have obviously our regulatory bodies in Quebec. And so, yes, we do have that, but this was an opportunity for us to measure and benchmark against international practice, and particularly from an organization that had undergone the multi-stakeholder process that the folks with the sustainability did to create the standard. So the fact that it was designed and approved by a variety of voices, including NGOs, was really key for us. So we wanted to take that additional test and see how we can improve in Quebec as well. We're also always looking to improve our social and environmental and technical practices. So this was a great opportunity for that.
And I might add that when we went to the joint committees to explain the purpose of the standards, the benefits for both parties, this was issues that Lynn mentioned that was brought up to explain to them the quality of the certification process, the extent of the minimum and advanced requirements, and the implication of our experts and the Cree community for this project. So that led to more credibility in this certification process and benefits that we've mentioned at the end.
Very good. Thank you. Can I perhaps turn to another set of questions then for Eastmain around whether you could put a value on the assessment cost and benefit? And what do you think the return of having done the assessment certification will be in 5 years' time? And what will be the benefit in monetary terms of the REC in 5 years' time? Have you done assessments, a cost benefit like that?
Not really. At the beginning, we presented the different reason, why we use this certification. It was at the beginning, to be honest, it was not to monetize that. It was not to. It was just more for recognition. The recognition of hydropower as a sustainable source. But yes, now that we are certified, as you can see, you can also use this certification to for REC's monetization. So it's you can see at the $3.50 per megawatt hour. So it's pretty easy to calculate the return on your investment that you can have by doing that. So and it's recurrent. It's you produce for the 5-year duration of your certification. You can sell REC. One thing that maybe Mariana didn't mention, but for you can have the certification at different stage. So preparation, construction, and operation. You can you can sell RECs only if you are certified for the operation stage, during the stage where you are producing electricity. So maybe it's something that it's important to mention. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mariana. That's my understanding.
Can I follow up, Christian, a question from M. Brown about the green bonds and whether you use them as well?
Yeah, we're not yet using green bonds for now. So I can talk for the future, but we are not using green bonds. We're using bonds. We are going for. I'm not familiar with the terms in English. Financement, external financing, but we don't use the green bonds approach. We don't need for that for now. We don't know for the future.
Thank you. I'm very conscious of time. We've just got 2 minutes left, so I'm afraid we can't take any more questions. I do just want to say on that point of green bonds, the Hydropower Sustainability Standard is aligned with the Climate Bonds Initiative requirements on green bonds. So other projects may well wish to use it to take up green bonds. Just to conclude, I want to thank everybody who's joined. I want to thank everybody who has participated, everybody who's asked questions. Sorry if we didn't get to all of them. A lot of interest. There's a lot of interest here in training as well. So we will make sure that people who are interested in training up against the standard, please do look at the Hydropower Sustainability Alliance website. Lots of training opportunities there. A plea from IHA, please do get your project certified. You can find out a lot more about the standard by being in contact with the Alliance. Also, anybody who is interested in getting involved in the governance of the Hydropower Sustainability Standard, please do get in touch with Margarita at IHA, and it's just there, the email address at the bottom there, membership@hydropower.org, and let us know. We can join you into the Hydropower Sustainability Industry Chamber, and you can be part of shaping the future of the standard. I'm going to have to call an end to it there, and I feel there's so many more things that we would wish to discuss. I think a massive congratulations to Hydro-Québec. Excellent work for everything they've done. And there's a lovely testimony to them from Barbara Fisher, sorry, made a mess of your name, in the question and answer. But I think it expresses well what we all are thinking about how we admire what you've done. I want to thank everybody, and we will be having other webinars on many different topics coming up soon. Please do follow our sites, and including a few more on sustainability case examples from around the world. Great way to get this started. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.